Good morning, hockey fans. Chris here with DFS Fantasy Sports to bring you my DFS NHL first look for Tuesday, November 16th. Before we get started, if you are new to DFS Fantasy Sports, head over to patreon.com/JagerBombs and you can sign up for one sport for $10 a month. That's $13.50 Canadian, or all sports for $20 a month. And here's a look at all the sports that we cover. This also gets you access into our Discord channel. We have 4 coaches in there to help you with all of these sports as well. You can also check us out on Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9, on TikTok, JagerBombs Fantasy Sports, Instagram, JagerBombs Fantasy Sports, and the same JagerBombs Fantasy Sports over on Facebook. All 3 of the 4 of those outside of Twitter are very new, so please go check those out, follow us. Lots of content coming out, lots more different kinds of content coming out here in the immediate future as well. Let's get into tonight. We've got a huge slate, 11 games going on, some really big favorites. We'll go through just kind of some of the matchups here first of all, then we'll get into some of the changes that I've made to the sheet, and then just a couple of teams that we're going to want to target along the way as well. And then be sure to stay tuned. Later in the afternoon, we've got our line combinations being updated on the sheet once we get all morning skate information in, and then Ryan will also have his top targets, and you can find those down here in the red tab at the bottom. Ryan's top targets will be filled out later in the day as well. Goalies, center, winger, defense, and top stacks with some notes as well. But first of all, we've got Toronto -208 favorite at home to Nashville. Really like that matchup. Toronto 7-2-1 at home. Nashville is pretty good on the road, 5-2-1. Then we've got the Rangers -192 favorites at home to Montreal. I really do like this spot. We'll talk about it when we get over to the goalie section. The Rangers are 3-1-1 at home. Montreal's really struggled overall. They've really struggled on the road, 1-6-1. Pittsburgh's a -244 favorite at home against Buffalo. Nice spot there. Buffalo is 1-4-1 on the road. Pittsburgh is 4-3-2 at home. Florida's a -172 favorite at home to the Islanders. Florida has yet to lose at home, 7-0-0, and the Islanders 5-5-2 on the road. They've played every game on the road. They're waiting for their new arena to be built. I believe they'll be in it by early or mid-December. Not 100% on that, but the Islanders are doing pretty good considering that they have not yet had a home game. First road favorite here, Calgary goes on the road into Philly. Calgary is 6-2-1 on the road. They've been a very good road team so far this year. Philly's been up and down. I am a super fan of Philly. It's been very hard to actually track them over the last couple of years. They'll go on short streaks of wins and then same streak of losses. But so Calgary is a favorite here, 6-2-1. Excellent road team, one of the best in the NHL. Minnesota's at home, -182 favorite versus San Jose. Minnesota's been excellent at home, 4-1-0. San Jose split 4-4 on the road. St. Louis, huge favorite, biggest favorite of the night, -357 versus Arizona, who comes into St. Louis tonight. Arizona, the biggest issue here is that they are 0-9-1 on the road. That's where a lot of that Vegas comes from. But looking at St. Louis, they've been, I don't want to say struggling lately, but they're in a great spot here at home. Probably going to see some chalk plays come from there, especially for cash games. Edmonton's a -116 favorite, and somewhat of a pick 'em here versus Winnipeg. If Edmonton was at home, I would expect them to be probably around -130, -140 favorites. Edmonton has been good on the road, 5-2-0, but Winnipeg has been very good at home, 6-1-1, so that could be a really good matchup to pay attention to tonight, and it is the only game with a 6.5 total here. Dallas is at home, -196 favorites versus Detroit. Dallas 2-2-1 at home. Detroit 3-5-0 on the road. Washington, another road favorite here, -141. They're 4-1-1 on the road. Anaheim is 6-2-1 on the road, +120 dogs. That might be a spot for a home dog to take a win tonight. They have been very good. Washington's just been the better team overall. And then to cap off the night, Carolina is a -127 favorite on the road in Vegas. Vegas is 5-3-0 at home. But Carolina's defense, as you can tell here, #1 overall in the league, is why they are slight favorites on the road, and they're 5-1-0 on the road as well. So they got a good road record. So that could be a good game to cap off the night. So that kind of takes us through all 11 games. Next, I want to show you a change that I have made on the sheet as of yesterday. Some guys have been asking for it, so I threw it up here. So now you'll see on the All Skaters tab, centers, wingers, and defense tab, you can see the stats for the season. Now, if you scroll over just a little bit here, you'll now see stats for the teams, each player's team, and their last 5 games. So that's why I put games played on here, just so that you can distinguish. And I'm going to resize this. There we go. Just so that you can distinguish how many games that player has played in his team's last 5. Then we've got goals, assists, points, shots per game, shot attempts per game, which is your Corsi, blocks per game, and time on ice. So you can just kind of compare the season stats to the last 5 games, who's hot, who's not. That really helps in making those decisions as well. And then, of course, we've got the advanced stats, team ranks for the season as well, injury information. That is the same as always. For anyone else that is new, I do have a tutorial video up that I kind of go over all of the stats, all of the stuff on the sheet. So if you want a little bit better description of what the stats are, how I use them, definitely go check that out. But this over here is your lines. So even strength, line 1, 2, 3, 4 for each player, and then power play 1 or 2 for the players that do play on the power play. Okay, so looking at some of the goalies tonight, only 2 are confirmed at this point, Sergei Bobrovsky and Carter Hart. Oh, and Scott Wedgwood was actually confirmed here not too long ago. But in terms of goalies that I'm looking at, let's look at the projections. First of all, Igor Shesterkin has been tremendous. He's 7-2-1 on the season, .929 save percentage. And not only has he been good, but he's facing a lot of shots. That's something that we look for. We want a lot of shot volume so that, that just ups our points in terms of a floor, especially for cash games. I like to see guys that get a lot of shots. He faces a lot of shots. He's had a good save percentage. He's on a good team. He's a big favorite here, -192 versus Montreal, who, like we said, if we go back to the matchups tab, Montreal's 1-6-1 on the road. Rangers are 3-1-1. That is my best bet right now for top goalie, simply because he's $500 cheaper than Jordan Binnington. Binnington has given up, I believe, if we go look at the game log here, 9 goals over the last 2 games. 9 goals over his last 2 games here in losses to Nashville and Edmonton. Overtime loss and then a regulation loss. And actually looking back at that Anaheim game, he's been bad in 3 of his last 4 games, still holding on to a 16 fantasy points per game on the season, but you are paying top dollar on DraftKings for Binnington, so that would be a GPP play only, just because Shesterkin's been better. First of all, his projection's better. I like that. He's a -192 favorite. A lot of that projection and a lot of Binnington being the most expensive tonight is those Vegas odds of -357. St. Louis is just such a huge favorite. But looking at the home and road splits for both Rangers and Montreal, Shesterkin is right near the top of my list tonight. Jack Campbell, I like. Toronto, -208 favorite at home. He's been very good for Toronto this year. He's right up there in terms of save percentage. I believe he's 3rd in the league in save percentage, 182. The problem, Toronto's not giving up a ton of shots, so he's facing right around that 30, but that's fine. 30 shots per game is definitely fine. Like I said, .939 save percentage. Seen quite a bit of high danger stuff, but he's got one of the highest high danger save percentages in the league. Again, more expensive than Bobrovsky, Bobrovsky. Shesterkin, even on FanDuel. So Campbell, Binnington are going to be GPP plays for me. Shesterkin would be my number 1 right now. I do like Bobrovsky, probably as another pivot, especially on FanDuel. He's going to be low owned at 8,600. He is the 2nd most expensive goalie, but he's a -172 favorite. Excellent start to the season at 6-0-0, 188 goals against, 940 save percentage, and he's facing a ton of high danger shots against. Almost, I think that may be the highest of goalies, 10.9 per 60 minutes played, and he's got almost a 90%, an 89.2 save percentage in those high danger areas. That is tremendous. The Islanders, they're a 500 team, which is pretty good. If you stretch out, if they had some home games in there, they'd probably be a little bit above above 500. But they're not, like I said, they're playing all their games on the road right now. 12 games to start the season on the road. This will be the 13th. So I do like that fatigue factor for them, not being able to play a home game, kind of like, we've seen with the Blue Jays in baseball, a little bit different. But so Bobrovsky's definitely going to be in there as well. So those would be the 4 goalies that I'm targeting as of right now. And then in terms of skaters, if we go back and look over here, just some lines that I'm looking at. Rough, I haven't gone through player by player to look at the matchups, but a couple situations when I look at team offense versus opponent defense that I really like to take advantage of. We see St. Louis, obviously, they really stand out. 7th overall offense versus Arizona is dead last in that area. So I do like going that route. And if we go look at the depth charts here and we just search up the Blues, don't mind. So I like to use this tab. If you go through the individual player tabs, it's going to list it by sorts by DraftKings price. So you're going to see what line they're on and power play. But if you want to see a team individually, come over to the depth chart tab, Control F to search the team that you're looking for, to search by last name or Tampa or whatever you're looking for. And just come over here and have a look. So I guess right off the bat, I would probably look at power play 1, O'Reilly, Tarasenko. First of all, what it does, if you think St. Louis gets up there, scores 4 or 5 goals tonight, what playing power play 1 does for you is gives you, as you can tell here, O'Reilly, Tarasenko, Perron, and Saad. Probably Perron over Saad for me if you wanted to go just 3 for cash games. Those 3 there gives you access to all 3, or exposure to the top 3 lines plus power play 1. So there's a lot of correlation there. So that is something that I look for when I'm using the depth chart tab. Once I go through and identify the teams that I want, I'll start using not only the individual player tabs, but also that depth chart tab as well. So Rangers is another one. So let's go just quickly peek at the Rangers depth chart. And these were updated last night. Like I said, again, they will be updated probably around 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon, once we get all the morning skate information in. So Rangers, I think we can go power play 1 as well. Line 1, Zibanejad, Kreider, Fox. That's a nice one. It gives you 2 forwards as well as one of the best defensemen, quarterback of the power play. So there's a lot of correlation there. You can also throw in Strome if you wanted to get some value. He covers that power play 1. Panarin as well. So if you wanted to go just a full power play 1 in GPP, it also gives you, what I really like about that is it really concentrates your exposure to power play 1 and line 1 and 2, rather than spreading it out. I like spreading stuff out a little bit more in terms of cash games. When I play cash games, I want, especially on these big slates, what I'm trying to do is identify 3 to 4 teams that I want exposure to the most. And I'm kind of doing that here. Rangers, talked about St. Louis, so there's like 2 of my teams right now that I'm kind of concentrating on, and I'm going to want 2 to 3 player stacks. So in my 3 player stacks, those are the teams where I usually get in 2 forwards and a defenseman, so the Rangers would fall into that. Other than that, if I'm just looking for forwards, I'm looking for 2 player stacks, and if they're not on the same line together, I want them on the same power play line. If they're on both, that's a bonus. So that's kind of how I'm building my cash, and then when it goes into GPP, I'm trying to target 2 teams and really just full stack. If you can't do that, it's 3 teams max, but I really want concentration to the 2 main teams, especially, and then we move into that 3rd team and fill in then maybe with a one-off or a smaller 2-player stack. So that would be 2 teams that I'm targeting right off the bat. Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense. That'll be a 3rd team that we can go look at here right away. Go look at the Penguins and how they got their line set up. So you got Crosby, Rust, and Gensel, so you can get 2 of the 3 of those. They're on the same line, same power play, so I do like 2 of the 3 of them. I like full stacking them in GPPs as well. If you want to get defensemen there, go Letang. Kapanen is a lot cheaper, so if you wanted to maybe mix in Kapanen, Crosby, and Gensel, or Kapanen, Crosby, and Rust, or however you want to go about getting 2 of the 3 on this top line that also are on that power play 1 and mix in. I don't mind going that extra player in cash games if it's going to be like a really cheap player. And I believe Kapanen is super cheap here. Let's go check that out here real quick. Yeah, he's $3,900. So if you're mixing in a really cheap guy, 4,000 or less, that's playing top line, top power play line, I'm okay going with that extra player, but he doesn't get a lot of shot volume. But again, I mean, when you're a less impactful player than your Gensel and your Crosby and your Letang, Jeff Carter, those guys, Jason Zucker even is a shot taker. So If you want to maybe pivot on Pittsburgh and get away from the Crosby Gensel, one thing I do like doing for GPP in terms of leverage tonight, and I talk about it in a lot of sports, is you don't necessarily need to just go pick a team that's going to be low owned, that maybe just isn't going to be a good team, just to try and be different and low owned. You can stick with those popular teams, especially on a big slate, because the ownership's going to be spread out a little bit more on these bigger slates. So what we're going to see is we can go to Pittsburgh now. If you think power play 1 and line 1 is going to be popular tonight, pivot to line 2. Go and get, or even power play 2. Zucker and Carter, Marino on defense, mix in Evan Rodriguez. Just go get 3 of the 4 of those pieces. There's 4 the pieces on power play 2 for Pittsburgh. Now you've got some lower ownership projections on a team that is still projected to be one of the top scoring teams of the night. So that's one thing I like doing in GPPs as well. All right, that kind of concludes things. Actually, before we go, I've also got this last 5 games tab up each and every day that you can come just check out. If you don't just want to compare player by player, position by position, you can just come have a look at the overall last 5 games. It's going to be sorted by points. So we got Draisaitl up there, 11 points last 5 games. Absolutely ridiculous. Kadri, 9 points. Ovechkin, Eberle's up there. That's awesome to see for Seattle, getting production out of him. 8 points last 5 games. Granlund. So if you want to come do that research just over the last 5 games, see who's hot, who's not. I might do some color coding to this tab as well, so you can kind of check that out as well. If you have any questions, hit me up in the Discord chat, DM me, hit me up in the NHL channel and the All Members channel. We got a new feedback channel. If you have ideas of other things you'd like to see added on the sheet, hit me up and I will try and add anything. Thanks for tuning into the video. Make sure to go check out all of our social media, like I said. And if you're new, make sure to head over to patreon.com/JagerBombs and get your NHL package today. We've also got a free trial for anyone that just wants to come in and check out some limited content, maybe communicate with our coaches and other members and see how things work around JagerBombs Fantasy Sports in our Discord. The link is in the description of the video below. Make sure to check that out. Thanks for tuning in and good luck tonight. Make sure to stay tuned for Ryan's top targets, which will be later today. And I also have I'm going to put out my cash game top player stacks. And I'm going to be doing a TikTok video that will be shared on all of our social media outlets as well. So stay tuned for that and good luck tonight, everyone.